Hello class, this is a video tutorial on equivalent fractions. The main idea of equivalent fractions are that they are the same fraction written different ways. So let's take, for example, these illustrations here. Let's take a look first at this first fraction that we have here. The fraction that is shaded over the total is 1/2. Now, if we take a look at the next drawing, I prepared it in such a way that all of these have the same shape, just cut up different ways. But now if I were to shade the exact same amount, take a look. Can you see how these actually have the same amount of shading? But yet, the parts that we have are, there are 2 bits that are shaded over 4 total parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now if I were to shade the same thing here, take a look. Half is about there. So if I were to shade just that section there. Now if we count the bits that are shaded, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 parts shaded over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you take a look, these all so far have the exact same amount of shading, yet they are written differently. One last one. Here we have 16 total squares, and once again, if I shade just that half, which is the same as what we had here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 total parts shaded over 16. Notice how these are all written differently, yet they represent the same amount of shading in all of our shapes. This is what equivalent fractions mean. Now, we can skip past the illustrations and the diagrams and go straight to being able to convert very quickly between equivalent fractions. So in these examples, we are asked to convert this smaller fraction, or at least the smaller denominator, to a bigger denominator. And how we do that is we just ask ourselves, for 4 to become 12, what has it multiplied by? 4 times what gives me 12? Well, it's going to be 4 times 3. And whatever number we multiply this bottom by, we're going to do the same to the top. So if that's times by 3, this is times by 3. 3 times 3 is 9. What I'm writing in pencil isn't necessarily required, but it's good just to get your head around it. 2 times what gets me 10? Well, I know that 2 times 5 is equal to 10, so I'm going to multiply this top number also by 5. So 2 times 5 is 10, 1 times 5 is also 5. Moving on here, 7 times what gets me 21? Well, 7 times 3 is 21. So I'm going to multiply this top number also by 3. 4 times 3 is 12. So what I'm writing here are all equivalent fractions. Even if it's the numerator first, so 10 times what gets me 20? Well, 10 times 2 is 20. So we're going to multiply the bottom number also by 2. 13 times 2 is 26. Moving along, 4 times what gets me 16? Well, 4 times 4 is 16, so we're going to multiply the bottom number also by 4. 15 times 4, well, 15 times 2 is 30. 30 times 2 is 60. Once again, moving along. Here we have 8 times what gets me 88? Well, that's times 11. So I'm also going to multiply this by 11. So 9 times 11 is 99. And these first 6 examples, they're going from a small denominator to a bigger denominator. Now we're going to go from a big denominator to a small denominator. So bigger to smaller. And now it's a little trickier. We're asking ourselves, for 9 to become 3, what do we divide by? There's a little trick I actually do here. I actually instead, watch, work in this direction. 3 times what gets me 9? Well, I know that's going to be 3 times 3. But look, if I'm going multiplication this way, that means in the other direction, I'm going to be dividing by that number I just found. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. Once again, there's a little trick that I do. 7 times what gets me to 21? Well, 7 times 3 is 21. So going back in this direction, we're going to divide by 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. And then this just keeps going on as follows. 3 times what gets me 66? Well, I know that 3 times 2 is 6, which means 3 times 22 is 66. So in this direction, we're going to divide by that number. Divide by 22. 22 divided by 22 is 1. Moving along, works the exact same way, even if it's the numerator. 12 times what gets me to 36? 12 times 3 is 36. So I'm going to divide this way. Also, I'm going to divide by 3. 3 goes into 30 once. 3 goes into 9 3 times. So it's 13. Once again, 11 times what gets me to 110? Well, I know 11 times 10 is 110, which means going backwards, I'm going to divide by 10. 100 divided by 10 is 10. And finally, 8 times what gets me to 72? Well, 8 times 9 is 72. 99 divided by 9 will give me 11. And that there is how you convert between equivalent fractions. Best of luck.